Hello, good evening. My name is Anagung Regung Wiladari Prabawa with the I number 60820. Well, right now I would like to, continue my vlog regarding to the assignment which was given by Professor Dr. Aslan. And in this vlog, it's quite interesting because it's influential topics for international relations study, especially in the contemporary world history, and it's called the Marxism. Well, Marxism is actually a philosophy developed by Karl Marx in the second half of the 19th century that unifies social, political, and economic theory. It's mainly concerned with the battle between the working class and the ownership class and favors of communism and socialism over capitalism. Well, Marxism was first publicly formulated in 1848 in the pamphlet The Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, which lays out the theory of class struggle and revolution. And also, Marxist theory portrays capitalism as one step in the historical progression of economic system that follow one another in a natural sequence. And also, they are driven, he posits, by fast impersonal forces of history that play out through the behavior and conflict among social classes. And also, according to the Marx, every society is divided into the social class whose members have more in common with one another than with members or other social classes. So in here, Marx defines that the value of a good in terms of the amount of labor needed to produce it. So this is called the labor theory of value, and it's really important in the international relations area, and basically this really affected in the economics area. Well, Marx thought that capitalistic system would inevitably destroy itself because the oppressed worker would become alienated and ultimately overthrow the owners to take control of the means of production themselves. Well, ushering in a classless society, Marxism believes the economic system in societies went through 5 stages, and also there are the unequity feudalism, capitalist, society, advance, and communism. And also, Marx called this class of people the bourgeois, the term of proletariat, and compressing the majority of society itself. And also derives from the Latin terms proletarius, which refers to people who didn't own property. Well, and who made up a class by defined by this characteristic. And ordinary laborers who do not own the means of production, such as factories, buildings, and materials, have a little power in the capitalist economic system. Well, workers are also rarely replaceable in periods of high unemployment, further devaluing their perceived worth. The maximized profits business owners have an incentive to get the most work out of their laborers while paying them the lowest possible wage. Well, this creates an unfair and imbalance between owner and laborers, whose work the owners exploit for their own gain. And also, because workers have a little personal stake in the process of production, Marx believed they would become alienated from it, as well as from their humanity, and turn resentful toward business owners. The bourgeois also employ social institutions including government, media, academia, organized religion, and banking and financial system as tools and weapons against the proletariat, uh, with the goal of maintaining their position of power and privilege, and ultimately the inherent inequalities and exploitative economic relations between these two classes will lead a revolution in which the worker class rebels against the bourgeois, takes control of the means production, and abolish capitalism. Thus, Marx thought that the capitalist system inherently contained the seeds of its own destruction. The alienation and exploitation of the proletariat that are fundamental to capitalist relations would inevitably drive the working class to rebel against the bourgeois and seize control of the means of production. As a result of the revolution, Marx predicted that the private ownership of the means of production would be replaced by collective ownership, and also first under socialism and under the communism. And Marx and Engel's ideas laid the groundwork for theory of practices of communism. And also, which advocates for a classless system in which all property and wealth that commonly, we can say that rather than privately owned, although the former Soviet Union, China, and Cuba, among other nations, have had nominally communist governments. And there's never actually been a purely communist state that has completely eliminated personal and property, money, and class system. Well, actually, both communism and socialism oppose capitalism and economic system characterized by private ownership and a system of laws that protect the right to own or transfer private property. And in a capitalist economy, private individuals and enterprises own the means of production and the right to profit from them. So communism and socialism aim to right the wrong of capitalism free market system. These include worker exploitation and inequalities between rich and poor. Although Marx inspired multitudes of followers, many of his predictions have not come to pass. Well, Marx believed that increasing competition would not produce better goods for consumers. Instead, it would lead to bankruptcy among capitalism and the rise of monopolies, and also as fewer and fewer were left to control the production itself. Well, bankrupt former capitalists will join the proletariat, eventually creating an army of the unemployed. Well, Marxism has also been criticized for its simplistic class structure and the idea that the capitalism has become less exploitative through the invention of the welfare state, which provides support for the poorest in society. Critical theorists often use a specific interpretation of Marxism philosophy focus on economic and political ideas such as commodification, reification, and fetishization, and the critique of mass culture. So, in here we know that Marxism argues the capitalism system is really bad for worker or laborers, and As a philosopher, he created an idea to produce the origins of communism and socialism. So that's all about the Karl or about the Marxism, and have a nice day. Thank you for your attention.